the IDF had been subjected to a very, very sophisticated deception operation orchestrated by Hamas and Iran in order to persuade Israel that Hamas did not have aggressive intentions towards it and that it was focused on economic development of the Gaza Strip. And this was, like I said, a very sophisticated campaign that ran for a very long period of time, probably a number of years, to persuade Israel that they were not under threat from Gaza. And we can even take one example. About a year before the 7th of October, Israel came under sustained rocket attack from Gaza by Islamic Jihad, a subsidiary junior partner terrorists in Gaza, also an Iranian proxy. And Hamas did not join in. And the IDF saw this as being almost proof that Hamas were not interested in attacking them. And the whole thing was set up, in my view, to achieve just that. And that, in turn, led to Israel thinning out its defenses on the Gaza border, reducing its intelligence efforts into Gaza, and even ignoring some pretty obvious signs that Hamas were planning to carry out attacks against Israel. And these were all brushed aside to a large extent on the basis that the Israeli intelligence organization was convinced that Hamas had no aggressive intent. On top of that, there was an upsurge of violence in Judea and Samaria in the year or so before this attack, which prompted the IDF to redeploy forces from the Gaza, where there was allegedly no threat, to deal with this upsurge. And I think the upsurge itself was orchestrated partly by Hamas and by Iran to achieve exactly that effect. So terrible consequences of a deliberate operation to lull Israel basically into a false sense of security.
Hamas has three strategic assets that have proven alarmingly impactful in shaping this conflict. There's tunnels, hostages, and embedding themselves into the civilian population. This combination presents a unique challenge for Israel, as no modern Western military has faced such obstacles in warfare. How can Israel secure victory in this war?
Well, Israel is a very powerful military, has a very powerful military force, and Israel can overcome all of these problems that you spoke about. It depends to a large extent on the political will to do so and the support of the country in doing so, because as we've already seen, this is a very, very painful and long process. And if anything prevents Israel from completing its mission in Gaza, it's going to be, I believe, international support dropping off, as we've already been seeing. But let's say that does not happen. Let's say Israel manages to overcome that. Then the IDF is more than capable of dealing with this situation. It's painful, it's difficult. It's not necessarily more intense in pure military terms. I was in Ukraine just a few weeks before the war broke out in Israel. And there was some very, very intense fighting going on there then, as there is now. But this is far more complicated. That's two armies clashing. This is essentially an ununiformed civilian organization that merges with the civilian population, even to the extent that unusually terrorists in Gaza, when they operate above ground, they don't carry weapons with them. Why don't they carry weapons? And that obviously is a way of identifying who the terrorists are, the weapons they carry. But they know that, and they don't carry weapons because in some parts of Gaza, and I've been on the ground in Gaza a few times with the IDF since the war began, I've seen it with my own eyes. In some parts of Gaza, every single house has weapons, grenades, rocket launchers, explosives concealed within the house. In other parts, it's every other house, but many, many houses effectively are armories for Hamas. So the terrorists can move above ground, go to a house, know there's going to be weapons there, and then attack the IDF. That makes it very, very complicated.